Poison Ivy, issue 7, G. Willow Wilson writing with Atugan Ilhan on the art. I'm probably butchering that name. Apologies.
So Takara looks like it's taking a break. So you have a new artist, and the art, I'll just start off by not as exciting as Takara. Like it's not bad art. There are some faces here that, you know, in proportions that are a little bit off, but it never distracts enough from what's going on in the story, especially once the story starts getting into like plant monsters and stuff like that. But when it's just basically Ivy in her human form and the main villain that we get, a little bit left to be desired. But it starts with this rich lady overlooking her like big manor property with these landscapers, and her name is Beatrice Crawley. And you got Ivy talking about that people always think they know what bad guys look like because they're these, you know, big cartoon villains, right? They're grotesque, they look like monsters. But, you know, sometimes the plainest looking person's the biggest villain. And that's where you introduced to Beatrix Crowley. Talks about, you know, success and prosperity obscures the exploitation and greed. So as they're going about, when Crowley's done looking, she grabs this key and opens the secret compartment where everything glows like this magenta shade of pink. And then she locks it back up. And Ivy is still talking about like people and how they are, and that, you know, evil bullies, that the evil bullies you into thinking that you're required to support it. And that those are the guys you have to watch out for because they, you know, they're the ones that can fool you. And she would know because she's a bad guy. So she's still trying to embrace the villain side of things. Come find out that Ivy's working on this landscaping crew to get close to Crawley, to find out what's going on. And the workers are like, be careful, Crawley doesn't like mistakes. And this is where it cuts back to Ivy's in her van driving through Montana, and she finds that this place in Montana is called, it's Parson, Montana, home of Future Gas, which is a fracking operation. And Ivy goes on this thing about how they'll sell you that fracking is actually greener and that it's better for the environment. But because of the process of fracking, there's a lot more that messes with the environment than just a simple drilling. And that after beating, you know, Woodrow, she thought that she was invincible because, you know, she had beat her mentor and you know, all of that stuff. And then as she's, you know, driving through, she stops into this cornfield, and there's this weird pink corn. And that's what leads her to look over at this fracking rig going on, and it's just spewing this pink, purple, magenta goo. And as she's looking at this, one of those plant monsters from Woodrow gets hit, comes out of the corn stalks. And she's like, well, this is weird because I defeated Woodrow. How are they still alive? And so she goes to try to defeat this thing. It's eating part of the purple or the magenta corn. She takes off its head, and she realizes that this is tied to Future Gas. She gets in there. She finds this family of workers, and, you know, they're kind of like, yeah, we had to start working for Future Gas because they're the only show in town. Like, their crops are infecting our crops, and, you know, it's just basically we're doing what we do to survive. You know, we don't want to work with them, but we have no choice. And so, you know, Ivy's like, well, let's just band together, you know, let's give the taste of town of its medicine. And then she lets them know that she's in landscaping, so that's why she's there.
Let's give this taste of town of its medicine.
Yeah, sorry. Let's give this town a taste of its own medicine. So she's going to get all these workers together, but they feel like there's nothing that, you know, they can do to fight. And she's like, well, that's not the attitude to have, because whatever they're doing is messing with your crop. So, you know, that's all you guys have. And that's where she gets in to start working. She gets into the house, right, by saying that she's there to deliver some plants for Miss Crawley, and she gets in there. She starts poking around, and she finds some spores of like mushrooms in her desk, and they look kind of like the mushrooms that she was using, the lamia spores. And Crowley, catches her and says that they're their own of their own design, and that because fungus are underappreciated workhorses of the natural. They break down their own soil and whatever. And this is where she lets Ivy know that she was spying. She knows who she is. She's not fooling anybody. So they get into a scuffle, and during the scuffle, the Lamia stuff activates in Ivy, and so she looks like she's this scary monster from the green, and she's trying to scare Crawley, but she says, you don't remember me, I knew you from back in the day. Maybe this will jog your memory. And she throws the stuff on her that negates Ivy's power that was keeping the Lamia spores in check from killing her. So as she's on the ground trying to fight this, Crowley leaves her, and tells her that we're cuttings from the same tree. We're the same person. I've just learned a few lessons that you didn't. And it goes to black. It goes to black, and someone from Crowley's team comes in and sees Ivy in like the Lamia spore, like she was doing to other people. Just this grotesque plant, like husk. And then it cuts and says next an out of body experience. So it's Takara is deeply missed because the art's not nearly as good, but it's definitely, it kind of feels like Swamp Thing where the first chunk felt like its own story that was set with her coming up against Woodrew and trying to find her place in now. And this half feels like, oh, there's more to that going on, but it doesn't feel like, at least with Swamp Thing, it felt like there's something big going on. Here, it just feels like it's going to be another typical Ivy story where she's going to fight someone that's like her, whatever. Still enjoyed it, though, but not as much as I did the first big chunk. So I'll give this, 7.5.